Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Advent Read Aloud, reading the Christmas Mystery by Justine Garter, and we are on day 9. So here we go. We're going to open up the day 9 door on our little calendar and read our chapter. What we have in the little door is this little fellow playing a little like piccolo or clarinet or something. So it'll be interesting to see who he is in relation to all our little pilgrims that we're accumulating on our journey to Bethlehem. Get my glasses. So Joachim couldn't stop thinking about the words John had muttered to himself. Sabet Tebas. Who or what were Sabet and Tebas? Who could those strange words have anything to do with the magic advent calendar? Before he went to bed, he wrote the words down in a little notebook so as not to forget them by the morning. Then he discovered something odd. Sabet became Tebas when he read it backwards. So of course Tebas turned into Sabet too. This was so mysterious that he wrote down the two words like this. Can you see that? He made a little cross of Sabet and Tebas. Interesting. Perhaps one day the magic words would help him to understand more about the old Advent calendar. Suddenly he remembered something the bookseller had said. Hadn't he said that the old flower seller was a bit odd? Joachim didn't think he seemed the least bit odd. Of course, it was unusual to pour water over people's heads, but it was just the sort of thing that Joachim might suddenly decide to do himself. As soon as Joachim woke up on the 9th of December, he sat up in bed and hurried to open the Advent calendar. It was a picture of a man playing a pipe. After the man came a long procession of children, big and small. Joachim looked at it for a long time before he picked up the piece of paper that had fallen out of the calendar. He made himself comfortable and read what was on the paper. The fifth sheep. It was the year 1378 after Christ. 3 godly sheep and a lamb with a bell stormed into the Hanseatic city of Hamburg. Behind the little flock ran 2 shepherds. An elegantly dressed black king followed the shepherds. Behind the black man, a little girl was running as fast as her short legs would carry her, and after the girl, an angel hovered over the ground. It was Sunday, and early in the morning. A few people were about in the streets on their way to morning mass in the old Jacob church. As soon as they caught sight of the procession of pilgrims, they gestured with their arms. Some of them shaded their eyes, and one of them exclaimed, "God be praised!" Something similar had happened in the town of Hanover a few years earlier. It was 1351, immediately after the fearful plague had cost so many human lives, not only in Germany, but in the whole of Europe. It was Monday, and the market stalls on the great market square were about to open. Peasants in their worn homespun clothes and market women in their rough skirts had begun setting out their wares. All of them had lost some of their dear ones. It was just before dawn of a new day. It was then that a little flock of sheep suddenly sprang into the market. One of the sheep overturned a table of vegetables. After the sheep there came a strange company. There were a couple of shepherds and a man in exotic clothes, black-skinned like an African. The black man was followed by a white-clad figure with wings on its back. Right at the end there appeared a little girl. She stumbled over the shaft of a cart full of cabbages and lay there after the rest of the godly company had left the market. Elizabeth wept bitterly when she saw the angel of Feriel and all the others disappearing. It was the second time on the long journey south that she had fallen and hurt herself. Now she had lost the procession of pilgrims and was surrounded by people she didn't know. And not only was she in a foreign country, she was in a foreign century, too. The people in the market were terrified by what they had seen. They crowded round Elizabeth, and a man poked her with his foot as if he was afraid to touch her. He wrinkled his nose and grunted horribly. But soon, an old woman put Elizabeth on her feet and tried to comfort her. She spoke a language Elizabeth didn't understand. "I'm going to Bethlehem," said Elizabeth. And the market woman replied, Hamelin? Hamelin? No, no, sobbed Elizabeth. To Bethlehem! To Bethlehem! Those were her words. The next moment, one of the angels of the Lord appeared in an arc of light above the market. Elizabeth stretched out her arms toward the angel and cried, Ephiriel! Ephiriel! The people in the market threw themselves to the ground, but the angel lifted Elizabeth up into the air, flew over the spire of the new market church, and was gone. He put her down on a country road outside the town where the sheep, the shepherds, and Caspar the Black King were waiting. Isn't that just what I was saying? Chuckled Joshua. When one of the lambs is lost, the shepherd must leave his flock and find the lamb that was wandered away. He struck the ground with his crook. To Bethlehem! To Bethlehem! How far is it to Bethlehem? Asked Elizabeth. Not very far, my dear, said Ephiriel. After a while, they came to a town on the bank of another river. This is Hamelin, said Ephiriel. The river is called the Weser, and the year is 1304 after Jesus' birth. A few years ago, a dreadful misfortune occurred in this town. Well, in a way, they only had themselves to blame. They had broken a solemn promise, and that's something one should never do. What happened? Asked Elizabeth. The town had been plagued by rats for a long time, but then a rat catcher arrived in town. He played on a magic pipe, and the sound of the pipe made all the rats follow him. The piper led the rats to the river, where they all drowned. Wasn't that a good thing? Yes, of course, but the people in the town had promised the man a big reward if he could save them from the plague of rats. When he had rid them of the rats, they refused to pay him what they owed him. What did the rat catcher do then? He began to play on his magic pipe again, and all the children in the town were bewitched by the music of the pipe and followed him. They disappeared inside a huge mountain with the piper and were never seen again. Elizabeth realized that maybe the woman in the market at Hanover had thought she was one of the children who had been lured into the mountain by the rat catcher from Hamelin. They were about to hurry on through Europe and even further back into history when a sheep came running towards them along the road and joined the others. Now the flock numbered 5 sheep. Joshua struck the ground with his crook. To Bethlehem! To Bethlehem! Now, as a side note, if you would like to read the full story of the Pied Piper of Hamelin, make sure you can do a little research and look it up and read it online, or you can check it out at your local library. Joachim found the key to his box and hid a little piece of paper along with all the other pieces. When his mother came in a little later, he was sitting looking at the picture in the advent calendar. Mama leaned over him. Well, look at that. A piper. He's a rat catcher, said Joachim. They wouldn't give him his reward for taking all the rats away from Hamelin, so he took all the children away with him instead. The people in the town had broken a solemn promise, and that's something someone should never do. Then his father came in as well. What's that you're telling us? He asked. Joachim realized that he had forgotten again and babbled about what he had read on the piece of paper. I'm just making it up, he said. It's only something I'm inventing. No, it isn't, Joachim, said Papa firmly. You were talking about the Pied Piper of Hamelin. That's an old story from Germany. Who told you that? What could he say? He had to hit on something clever. Ingvild, he said. She was his teacher. Or maybe it was someone in class. He was telling lies. But he wasn't allowed to lie about... But wasn't he allowed to lie about a Christmas present? Wasn't that the only thing in the whole world that you could lie about as much as you liked? After school, Mama and Joachim went into town to buy an anorak, and Joachim asked to go into the market. There were not as many people in the market as there were in the summer. Some stall holders were selling wreaths and candles, others were selling all sorts of Christmas presents. I wonder how they can bear to stand here in the middle of winter, shivered Mama. There's someone over there selling flowers, too. That's because part of the glory of heaven has strayed down to earth, said Joachim. Something was laughing inside him. "What are you talking about?" asked Mama. "He's selling flowers in the middle of winter because the glory of heaven has strayed down to earth," repeated Joachim. "You see, there's so much glory in heaven that it can easily spill over." Mama shook her head and sighed in despair. She obviously didn't like him to say such strange things. John was standing behind a table with lots of flowers on it. He winked at Joachim and gave a little wave. When they had passed, Joachim turned around. John was pretending to play on an invisible pipe. Oh my goodness. This is getting better and better. I can't believe it. So, that is our story today. I can't wait to see. I'm telling you, Mama and Papa are gonna have to figure it out sooner or later. I don't know. And Joachim, oh my goodness, yeah, I think he's compromising himself a little bit with how much lying he's doing and how many secrets he has to keep. It's a very tricky situation he's gotten himself into. And the Advent calendar is not helping it either. So I can't wait to find out what happens on day 10. We're at day 10 already. Oh my goodness. Advent is just a little bit longer. We're almost halfway through Advent season. So I hope you're enjoying all these readings, and I can't wait to see you tomorrow and to find out what happens on day 10 with our little group of pilgrims too. Take care and have a great evening. Bye-bye.